stir it up and do things our way. So if you wanna move, get out of our way.
Hey.
Hi.
It's Monday. Hi, guys.
Yeah.
Different day.
I'm really a little sad about this because I love, and we normally do it Tuesday, and I love to say, see you next Tuesday. Ha 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 ha. So mature. But we've moved OC to Monday because we love it and we want to get it out faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, couldn't wait.
No. And neither do you, our listeners.
There you go. There you go.
I guess we should just dive right in then. I mean, you could.
Sorry, go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, is this the first episode with the taglines? Because I don't remember seeing them in the previous two episodes.
I was going to ask the same question because I saw them and I was like, I don't know. Was it? I don't know.
I don't know either. And I was too lazy to go back and look at the previous two episodes.
Yeah. Well, I know it wasn't last week, but I couldn't remember if like the first episode had them or not. So I was like, I don't want to claim if I don't know.
Yeah, maybe people can correct us because honestly, I'm not gonna look in the time in between these between when this goes out. So leave a comment. People tell us if we're right or wrong. But that was like truly the first thing I noticed. So I think that it was the first episode with them, and there was only one that I liked, to be honest with you.
Which one?
Tamara's.
Oh yeah, I wrote that one down. Yeah.
I mean, the only thing stuck up about me is my middle finger. I guffawed.
She kept it simple and classic and to her character, which is like irreverent and defiant.
Bullseye.
The others were Shannon's. Honestly, was like the worst to me.
I don't even remember what her.
She's trying to use storms and it felt like she had a bunch of buzzwords to work with and tried to construct a sentence out of it. It's just none of them were great. None of them were like
the one that made me laugh was Gina. Hers was like the properties I represent. I know my worth, and it's like, no. 2 weeks ago, you said you forgot to know the amount of your properties. So this makes no sense. So you don't know your own worth, I guess. And
so far, your biggest transaction of note is a rental that's now in default.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't think so, Gina.
Yeah. What was Heather's? Heather's was one of those. She's had better. I don't even remember.
I don't remember either.
That's how memorable they were.
Yeah,
exactly. Katie's was had to do with golf. It was about being on the green or something like that.
Oh, hers is something about like, and hers doesn't fit her because it was something about like when you're like playing golf, something about when you're on the green, envy is par for the course.
There you go.
But considering her big rival this season seems to be Heather, what is she trying to imply? Heather Dubrow is jealous of her? That's where I'm like, that's a stretch. But
well, I just think it's funny that Katie's made golf such her entire identity on this show because she used to work there. That we'll get to, she hosts an event. Her tagline, even though she's flat out said she hates golf, she hates playing it, she hates it. But she's made it her entire identity.
You know what, though? Most people hate their job. And the first thing we ask people is, what do you do? And that's what we know them as.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
I hope this job does not, because the way she's using golf so much and everything, I hope it doesn't affect her husband's career. You know, like, remember Kelly Dodd, basically Housewives cost her husband his journalism career-ish. Right. I mean, it's just like, I hope that, because she even mentioned at her event, which we'll get to, like, you know, it's a very conservative sport and stuff. And now his wife's dragging his job into a very salacious show. So not that he's so high profile. He's not anchoring CNN or anything. But yeah. Oh, I guess so. Starting from the beginning, I guess a scene that they opened it Oh, it was so beautiful.
Yeah, I thought of you.
You
I
guys?
thought of you the entire time I was
Yep.
watching it. To be honest with you.
They open at the Dubrow penthouse at the
Mm-hmm.
Century in Century City. Once
Yeah.
again, just a few floors down beneath Candy Spelling. But that's not their only house. They're checking out the view of their mansion.
Yeah,
I
they're
love
trying.
being that humble brag. Is that Drake's house or our house? Like,
Mhm. Sincere
Oh.
question. Yeah.
Oh, it
not
was
acting
great.
at all.
Oh God.
Their scenes, I have to say, are so staged.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was gonna say that. I was like, no,
Mhm.
this is all like expository. There's no reason that a couple would be talking like this to each other.
Mhm.
It's just so bizarre.
Mm-mm.
What they do, what I feel, they remind me for Orange County, they're OC's Lisa and Ken. You can tell they are a united couple. They love each other, whatever, but they are totally playing the game together. And they have these sit down conversations, which totally they briefed each other on the point they're trying to get across. And yeah, so it wasn't natural, but I didn't care. It was just dripping in like dripping in LA wealth. I was
Mhm.
dying.
I will say the thing I do like about Heather and Terry is that I do think that they really love each other, that they
Mhm.
are a perfect match. Like they have the same kinks, which is wealth, affluence, money, but also kind of each other. Like they have similar goals and values in life. Whether or not that they're yours, that's not for you to decide, that's for them to decide. And I think they truly like love each other. Family is also important to them as well. Like, so I still like, while I like to tease them and stuff, I still really like them as a couple because I think that they are actually really like a really solid married couple. And if they ever got divorced, I would be very surprised because I just think that they mesh very well. They just complement each other very well.
I think it would be hard for either of them to find someone else who could not just tolerate, but nurture and encourage their behaviors.
Yeah. They also allow each other to shine because I think they both like to shine. They both like to be seen, but they both take turns with each other and they kind of like prop each other up. And I think that's they see each other as equals. Nobody's above the other one. And I really
It's a
think that's
partnership.
yeah, it's very much a
Mhm.
partnership, but still a loving partnership. And so like I like them. I like them as a couple. Like,
I like everything they have to offer. They speak
Yes.
to me.
yeah, you do.
Mhm.
But then it kind of went downhill from there. So we go from Century City in Beverly Hills to a girls' night at a dive bar where Emily's peeing outside.
Oh,
of
okay.
Katie's
Why?
mission.
I don't. Well, here's where I don't have a problem with that. She's flat out said, "I don't want to go in and meet her family, so I'm just going to pee in the bushes." And I felt seen there because that's going in and meeting somebody's family is the last thing in the world I want to do. So I'd pee in the bushes. Absolutely.
Still. No.
I-
Oh, then she
I
kind of
kind-
fell and walked in it. No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and they got back in. There was no hand sanitizer. I was immediately looking
Yeah.
for.
It's just gross.
I think she was
No.
trying to go for one of those kind of old school Vicki, Tamara, Shannon, Trace Amigas, drunken hijinks, antics.
Mhm.
It's just really it was too early in the episode. They hadn't even hit the bar yet, so it
Yeah,
felt
it's
kind of flat.
too early in the night. Like it'd be one thing if they're driving home and she did that. I'm like, no.
Yeah. If it was like, like when they've been stumbling around Key West or something, that kind of
Yeah.
thing happens. I was like, no, you're just like trying to make a moment here, and it's not cute.
No. Yeah. And then also like, oh, let's try to make it a Coyote Ugly moment. I was like,
That was very forced. Yeah. It annoyed me already that they were I'm not familiar with that establishment.
Oh, I looked it up.
It looked divey enough on the inside. Like sometimes they say we're going dive bar, we're going to a dive bar tonight. And you watch it and you're like, that's a really nice place. I don't think you know what a dive bar is. But this place
Yeah,
looked divey enough.
I even found their Facebook. It's called the Boulevard in
Mhm.
Costa Mesa. It was like they're at
I
least
actually
in a
think I
real
have
neighborhood.
been there, to be honest with you.
Mm.
I just thought of all the things that every bartender at a dive bar wants to hear is you walk up and order 4 espresso martinis at a dive bar. That bartender was probably so pissed off. I'm surprised they
mean,
had it, to be honest.
You guys have heard me say it before that I'm so glad I got out of bartending before the espresso martini became the thing. They were just starting on the up when I got out of bartending around end of 2018. I hate them so much. Them and mojitos, like just
Oh, God,
making
yeah.
them, they're too much. And everybody, I'd rather give people a Red Bull vodka. Like if I'm gonna have to deal with that nonsense, like that kind of comes out afterwards of people being hyped up, caffeined up, and liquored up. Like no, an espresso
Yeah.
martini, and like you said, it's a dive bar. Order a fucking beer and a shot. Shut the fuck up.
Exactly.
People ask me, "What's your favorite drink to make?" And I'd be like a bottle of beer.
Yeah, I imagine.
Also, like, then we go to then we go to like Disneyland Gate.
This is where it gets really messy. This is where I'm seeing shades of Noella Bergner.
Yeah.
Or Bergman. I should know his name more because Sweet James is on billboards all over my area. But Bergner, Bergman, I think Bergman. But I mean, this is just
Bergner.
Is it?
People can correct us.
Yeah. Either way, Katie's coming in too strong, too messy for me. It feels forced.
Well, she has multiple gates. There's the Disneyland gate that obviously is going to be the ongoing thing, but then the stupid photo tagging birthday post gate, which I straight out was like, oh my God, it's Esophagate 2.0. This is a stupid thing that one person seems very upset about, like Anne-Marie did with Sutton. The other person doesn't care, and everybody else is like, why are we still talking about this?
Yeah.
Okay, you got tagged, probably not accidentally, but still, who cares?
I think it was accidental because what does Heather have to gain from tagging this woman she doesn't even follow in an event she wasn't at? I do think obviously Heather was creeping on her account. And I did a little test run last night before we recorded it because her explanation was that her last name is Ginella, G-I, and that she was trying to tag Givenchy, the designer of the dress she was wearing. So I was like, they come up only if you've been clicking both accounts back to back, but either way, I don't think it was Heather messing with her head. I think it was Heather screwing up and revealing that she'd been creeping on her page.
Well, so I have a different yet similar theory. And it goes back to what you were talking about last week, Jordan, about them having playing two different storylines where Heather's playing the whole, I don't know you, we're just meeting, and Katie's being like, why don't you love me? Because we met at a grocery store. And I think that, yes, that Heather's been creeping on her and looking at that stuff. I do think that I think she totally has a social media person. And I think she did tag her because Heather's birthday is in early January. They started filming in January. So the social media person and Heather both knew that this woman was being, coming onto the show. And I think probably the social media person tagged her in the photo, maybe with or without Heather's knowledge, being like, well, this person's coming onto the show this season, might as well tag her, not realizing that it was going to cause all this craziness. That's my theory, because I do think that, like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that she was purposefully tagged because she's coming on the show and let's do this. But at the same time, if she had been creeping on it and it was close to Givenchy, I don't know. I also don't care.
It just like, maybe it was, like you said, the social media person making that assumption. Like, oh, I'll tag the whole upcoming cast.
Yeah.
I just don't think Heather, the way Katie is making this, like, Heather is obsessed with me and antagonizing me, and she came up with this scheme to tag me in a photo and like ruin my life. I mean, that's what it sounds like.
Well, now I believe the Givenchy, she meant to tag that, because if you go back and look at the photo, it's the only name tagged. Like that was Katie's thing from the beginning. She's like, not only do I not know why I'm tagged, it's a picture of like Heather with only me tagged in it. And she was very confused. So if she was trying to tag a designer, that actually would make way more sense.
Yeah.
No. I don't know. I haven't looked at the photo, so I didn't know who
It's just
I haven't either. They just keep throwing it up on the screen every time this comes up.
Because I thought there were more people tagged in that photo.
I mean, I could be wrong. But I thought Katie is it's a very big tag, like the name. So that's why. So it makes sense. Like, if she meant the designer, that would totally make sense. It might be a bullshit excuse, but that would make sense.
I just don't know why Katie is up at night, hurt and obsessed with being tagged in this photo. It's like she thinks she's dropping a bombshell. I'm like,
well,
but just so, I mean, if I were Heather, I would be very upset with this Julia, who's her social media girl, for making a mistake and causing a storyline. And I would personally maybe hire someone else.
Do you know anybody?
No, my DMs are open.
Oh.
But I know, just saying. I'm very precise. But
you were right about the Coyote Ugly thing. Just seemed so forced and stupid, and the people around them seem to be smiling and pointing and laughing, but I would be so annoyed. I don't know if Tamara was shooting soda water, or it wasn't regular water, because they said she was sticky afterwards. So it was I don't know if she was shooting Sprite out of there, but I would be so annoyed if I was sitting near them and you got sprayed with that at that bar.
Only one person can whoop it up on top of a bar, or could get people to really whoop it up on top of the bar. And that's Victoria Gunvalson. I will give her that. Like, she knows how to get people going. Tamara and Emily and Jen, they can't do it like Vicki Gunvalson can. So but I appreciate Gia and Katie for sitting there going like, no. No, we don't do that anymore. It was like, I would be sitting with the two of you. Thank you. Yeah.
Ugh, that brings us though to the next issue. You spoke of the Vicki. Speak of the Vicki, and she shall appear.
Say her name 3 times.
This was my first experience with Vicki on like actually seeing her. I've heard the stories from you guys. I know enough about her from reading it, but I've never seen an actual clip of her. And man, she came in hot.
What an intro for you.
Yeah, the first thing she says when she walks in the door is talking about pus coming out of her torso from her staph infection. Literally the first thing she says. And she was only there for like 5 minutes. And she just went through so many topics.
It's friendship. That's what friends are for, Nate.
Actually, yeah, honestly, that's the most genuine seeming friendship conversation that we've seen so far this season, because that is something that you would say to a friend.
Yeah.
It sounds to me, I mean, the way she told the story was basically she checked herself out of the hospital early to make sure she could film.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's that desperate for camera time. Nate, so if you don't know, all the viewers do, she is the OG of the OC.
Yeah,
and they let her go a few years ago. And like, even when I like one time I spoke to her and stuff, she's always, every year she's like, this is my show. I am not going to be a friend of. They don't deserve me unless I'm full-time. And every year they offer her a few minutes on camera, and she literally ripped the IVs out of her arm and torso and came running over to Shannon's.
Now, is she a friend of or just a guest star?
Friend of. That is a guest star.
I thought there was a tier below friend of.
No.
Like a cameo, but if you're an established person in the group and you make her you're a friend of.
Gotcha.
She would have been paid for this episode, so that makes you a friend of.
But she comes in hot with the pus coming out of her stomach or torso. Then they get to trying to do their traveling comedy variety show without Tamara. Or was it without Tamara? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they have the really serious heart-to-heart about John Jansen suing Shannon for $75,000. And then on the way out, they go from this very serious conversation where they're both tearing up to Vicky's just like, "Are your boobs different sizes?" And she's like, "They look like oranges, but they're uneven." And my favorite thing was that Shannon did not say like, "Oh my God, what are you talking about?" She said, "Oh, you saw that too?" So Shannon knows, but it just came out. It was just such a 180 from the previous very emotional conversation.
Mhm.
This is when I miss Vicki. This is when I miss Vicki, when she's being real, when you're having like these real moments, and like when she's not conniving or denying stuff, when she's
Mhm.
just being real. And like this scene with Shannon, they both were being very real, like both of them. And I love real Shannon too, when she's not doing any of that stuff. And so, yeah, like, because Shannon's a little weird, not a little, she's a lot weird. That's one of the reasons I still like her. That's one of the reasons I still am like, I can do this. I mean, but yeah, like the whole, I didn't realize how deep into this business of the Tres Amigas they had gotten into. Although I shouldn't have been surprised, because Vicki is all business and she would have set everything up that way
Mhm.
to make sure it was. So that's very, very interesting. And then, but I love like when Shannon brings up John Jansen, the mention of his name made Vicki dry heave. Like that was great. That is a friend standing up for a friend right there. Like I have it written later on that I kind of realized even the bigger issue for me with Tamra is that she's really kicking Shannon when she's down. You can completely disagree with Shannon's DUI and how she's dealing with the drinking, but then to kind of go to the side of her ex and everything like that, that's not being a friend. That's not being that's kicking somebody when they're down. And Vicki is there for her. And I didn't know that John Jansen didn't work. Like,
do any of the men on this show work?
We're getting well, I want to know what the story is with this. Because this is obviously, remember, these are housewives who take sides and they will say what they need to push their agenda. So what I don't understand is like where John Jansen's getting money then, and where he's able to lend her $75,000 for this facelift. I don't know what, I never understood. Was he a realtor?
I don't
Which
know.
isn't, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying he has a career or not, but I was just like, I don't know. He seems to buy people expensive things.
Yeah. But then, in Vicki's narrative is that Shannon was paying for a bunch of stuff for him. So almost like it was like they were in a long, marriage-ish, you know what I mean? Like, well, I pay for this stuff, you pay for that stuff. This is a time when I kind of need a chunk of money, here, I'll loan you that chunk of money because, we're in this long-term relationship, yada, yada, yada. That's what it kind of seems like to me. It's like, hey, we've been in this because they were together with like 4 years or so. I don't know, something like that, somewhere around there. But yeah, I want to find out. It seems like, well, at least next week there's a nice like wannabe dinner party from hell Amsterdam type of situation. So maybe we'll find out some more, and maybe we could do some digging on John Jansen's work life.
Oh, hey, we didn't get Alexis this episode, did we?
No.
I did not miss her.
I was so
Right.
sad about that.
I just realized that. I was like, because it was like, well, what was John doing? I was like, oh, we don't know. Cut
Well,
from the
we know what he was
episode.
doing. Alexis, 4
Yeah.
times a day.
That man keeps his urologist on speed dial for those Viagra refills.
Here, yeah.
But then Jen went to, speaking of Viagra refills, Jen went to Vegas with Ryan, and she knew everybody was going to criticize her, and they did. But then we found out about that whole like back rent situation, which had already been in the papers, that had already been on social media. But then she got to tell her side, and that was just another thing of me like being like, gosh, you were so naive at this age of like, it was another thing of like, okay, the landlords offered you, a deal on your rent and they didn't get it in writing. You have to get all this shit in writing, girl. Like, you have to get this in writing. Any deal, any negotiation, you get it in writing. And the fact that they didn't get it in writing means that now they're in this situation having to pay back rent to this new landlord. And that just sucks.
If I were if that yoga studio is like a corporation and it was signed, like LLC, like signed through the business and not her, I would walk away from the whole thing. She mentioned that the yoga studio doesn't make money. Now they're $100-something thousand in debt because of it. I would kind of what's the word? Irish goodbye that business. See, like, just slide out the back door.
I mean, can't they if it's an LLC or a corporation, can't they file for bankruptcy too?
Something like that. I would
That's what I would do.
I would not
let it go. Let it go.
Yeah. She has Ryan.
For at the moment then.
For now, sure.
I looked up his house, by the way, because I was like, was he living there all alone? Because there's plenty of room. It's like a 6,000 square foot house. It's very large. It's nice. So I was like, it's not like Gina moving her kids in with Travis. I mean, I was like, why was he living there single? Maybe he was married before. I don't know. But it's like, that is a huge family house. It's like 5-6 bedrooms. It's like,
there's so many like single men tech bro guys who like buy like huge houses just for them to like party, to like flaunt, to like do all that stuff. But also, she would go over there. Well, who knows when he bought it exactly, but you probably
2017. Leave it to me. 2017, and I think he got it as a foreclosure because it was a good price and the landscaping was dead in the last listing. It's like a $3.5 million house. So
damn.
Well,
at least Jen was going over there whenever her ex would come in town to stay with the kids, because that's what they did. The kids all stayed at the house. And the just Jen and her husband would come in and out instead of moving the kids back and forth to places. So
yeah.
So there were two people living in that house at times.
So like here is some, because we're about to get into Katie's event, which is where it all goes down. And there's a scene right before where she has dinner with her husband. And this is where I am like, she is giving us two stories as well. We like Heather pretending that she just met her. Katie is like, I've seen you around. So they have two. Katie is giving us, she doesn't know a lot about what's going on in the housewives, but she has studied them to the point that she takes her husband to Javier's for date night. And she acts like, once again, she does this a few times this episode and we'll get into it, but she acts like, oh, I don't know, I just heard about it, I thought it'd be fun, it's like a cougar's den. Javier's, before The Quiet Woman, Javier's is an OC icon.
I mean,
we actually have it up on our we have it up on our social media, PCP. They should be national landmarks.
Yeah,
you guys would always mention The Quiet Woman and Javier's, but I didn't realize that's what that Javier's, because there was one in LA. I don't know if it's still there at Century City Mall. So I didn't realize that's the Javier's you guys were talking about.
Yeah, no, it's the one, and it's been since before The Quiet Woman for like a decade. It's been the center of OC drama and dinners and drinks, and then the way she's. We'll get into it in a second, but she keeps doing this. She's clearly studied Housewives, which is fine at this point. You can't say you've escaped Housewives for 18 plus years, but she plays both sides where she's an expert on like everything Heather's ever done, but she's just meeting everyone and doesn't know.
And she's friends with Cynthia, oh God, why did I forget Cynthia's? Well, Cynthia. Thank you, Bailey. Yeah, friends with Cynthia Bailey, just happens to meet Cynthia Bailey and become friends. I was just like, oh, come on. Like,
that's what I mean. Like, and that's the other thing. Like, her things are like, for me, of course, like she's making it sound like a crime that Heather would look her up on Instagram. They're castmates on a show. Of course you're gonna scope them out. I do that on people. I do that for everyone. I'm not on a
Yeah.
show, any random. That's what you do.
This is
And
what you do
so-
before a date. Like you look them
Mhm.
up on Instagram. Like you go on, you look at them on Hinge, you match with them, and then you immediately go to Instagram. You immediately go everywhere else and try to look them up. For fuck's
Yeah.
sake.
And she's pretending she's not familiar with the housewives. Yet she's like, oh, here's lunch with my friend Sutton from Beverly Hills. Oh, Heather ran into my friend Cynthia Bailey from Atlanta. This woman has been trying to be a housewife for a very long time. It's very clear she's been collecting them and trying to think about it. She's new to Orange County, yet she was ready to go and join Bravo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There we go. And then she's making inroads by trying to call her event drinking and driving.
In front of Shannon, no less.
Yeah.
That
That
was hilarious.
Whoops.
Mhm.
Like there was a moment I was like, is she a Sagittarius? Because the way she put her foot in her mouth, it was like something I would do. But no, she is a Taurus. So
I mean, even without Shannon sitting next to her, naming an event drinking and driving is a terrible idea. No matter
That's
what. It doesn't matter who's in the room.
That's something I would have named a party in college.
Exactly.
And the
Exactly.
Facebook invite would have had like a picture of Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
There-
Yeah.
That's the kind of, yeah. She didn't change it to something much
No, it was
better.
like putting and I don't
Sipping and chipping.
know, sitting and chipping.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. The event looked like a hoot.
well, it was sponsored by Aloe. Well, this entire episode seemed to be sponsored by
Okay.
Aloe.
Okay, I was going to ask you that because I noticed it specifically with Tamra. I was going to be like, is she sponsored by Aloe? Because in the early in the episode, she was wearing an Aloe hat, which I didn't strike me as,
And jacket or
oh,
hoodie,
was she?
whatever.
It didn't strike me
Yep.
as unusual. But then when she shows up to the golf game, head to toe Aloe, I'm like, oh, okay. Is this a sponsorship thing?
Well, and that coat that Heather was wearing on the balcony was an Aloe coat, and she'd worn it in the previous episode too when she was talking to Terry on FaceTime. Like, there was a couple of other places I saw Aloe, but mostly on Heather and Tamra. Tamra was like head to toe Aloe. I was just like, Jesus effing Christ.
If you see pictures of Sandoval from Pump Rules around town, paparazzi shots, he's always wearing an Aloe hat now. So they must be.
Aloe, I like your clothes. Like, I know I'm not controversial enough probably for you, I guess.
Yet.
Yet. But if I stay on this podcast long enough and maybe if I piss off enough people with my mouth and Jordan helps me, like, we can do that.
Yeah, it's like, what is it? Like the new Lululemon or something? Lululemon?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it fits with Orange County because it reminds me of like if you go to like Calabasas, the Commons. It's all those like bougie suburban housewives in the Range Rovers going to yoga in Erewhon.
If you follow Amanda McCants on TikTok, she's a TikToker. I love her. And she does it perfectly. She's an Aloe woman. She will do the Aloe woman to the max. And I love her. She's so beautiful and funny and point on. If you want to know like any of these, especially the Calabasas woman, the Calabasas mom, or she did one recently, the Malibu mom had me rolling on the floor. Anyway, let's go back to, but Aloe is like nice athleisure. And it's even more than like Lululemon. It's like, I have a pair of like pants from them and I love them so much. They're so flowing. They're so great. I bought 2 more in the same color and they're like $150 each, but I was like, I don't care. I will wear these all the time because I'm a quality over quantity person. I'm also that person. I like it. I'll buy it in 5 different colors. So because I'm Steve Jobs.
Your uniform.
I wear a uniform.
The one person who needed to be dressed by somebody else in some sort of sponsorship is Gina. She was wearing those Frankenstein platform shoes that she wore to her I think it was to the real estate showing a few weeks ago. And they were horrible then, but they're especially horrible on a golf course Like, I think was it Katie that was giving her the dress beforehand, or
Yeah,
was it somebody?
Katie
Okay,
dressed her.
Katie was trying to throw her a bone by dressing her, and I bet Katie was like, "And you fucking wore those shoes. I gave you that dress, and you wore those shoes.
Yeah.
They don't even make sense on a golf course
She
Or
could've, like, worn
anywhere.
that, like,
or
no,
anywhere."
nowhere.
But but like, what?
They're like platform patent leather Mary Jane. But in
Steve
the
Madden bullshit. Yeah.
and in the housewives world, I think what we would call them are Herman Munster shoes.
Exactly.
That's it.
She came onto Katie's golf course in her Herman Munster shoes. Even DSW makes mistakes, Gina.
I was shocked to see how much Heather likes hot dogs. That kind of caught me off guard. Of anybody, you know, her throwing out pigs in a blanket and hot dogs. I was like, I've had no reason to like you yet, Heather, except for like you flexing all your properties. But that's more of a Jordan thing.
Yeah.
See, you might be impressed by her properties. I'm impressed by her love of encased meats. Love it.
You love a sausage girl.
I
Don't you?
love a sausage. I do. I did. If you were to tell me, hey, we're gonna go we're gonna have a putting competition and there's a hot dog bar, I am so there. I would let Heather yell at me for a good 10 minutes just for the hot dogs.
Be like, excuse me. Like, just keep yelling as long as I can put relish on this thing.
Yeah.
No, honestly, that's what
Aw.
Katie should have done. Because the funniest thing to do when somebody's yelling at you is casually just eat a hot dog because it'll throw them off so much.
Mhm.
That's okay. Good to know. All right.
I mean, the best thing to do when anybody's yelling at you is to casually just do anything.
Do anything
It's
else
like-
to seem completely unbothered. And for some
Mhm.
reason, just the thought of just casually eating a hot dog,
Mhm.
that makes you seem extremely unbothered, even when somebody's yelling at you.
I mean, that's what
Just carry some
Heather
in your
should have done.
pockets.
Who brought her up a hot dog? Was it Tamara or was it somebody
Jen.
else? Jen brought her a hot dog. She just should have started eating that hot dog and just listened to
Mhm.
Katie carry on. Although the thing is, though, this is what's funny. I feel like Heather is like the more outwardly bothered one, because when you say, I swear on my children's life, that's when I start to disbelieve you. Because when you start swearing on people's lives, I go, I think you're lying. But like at least at the place, Katie was acting a little bit more unbothered. I could have seen Katie just picking up a
Mhm.
thing, because she was like, well, I guess I'll enjoy my Dom Perignon. She's like, I'll give her the bag.
Oh,
She may not
that would have
like
been
it with her.
funnier. She just pops the Dom right while Heather's yelling at her. That would have been much funnier.
Yeah.
Maybe offers
Yeah.
her a glass. Man, that would shoot
Mhm.
down that whole thing.
Heather clearly went in knowing there was going to be a confrontation. She wore the outfit with the cardigan with the STFU on
Mhm.
the patch on her chest. I think that Dom was a very clear flex on her, a power move. Like, I'm better than you. Be grateful for my crumbs. I think with something that when you were saying Heather got really bothered, what I do like about her is that, like, it's earlier I was comparing them to LVP and Ken. But LVP and Ken, as we saw, as kind of the reigning rich power couple, LVP couldn't take confrontation. And it'd be like, oh my God, never. I'm astounded. And she'd run away or quit the show. Heather will Bethany you. She will
True.
get in your face. She stands her ground and her heels. She digs her heels into your putting green and will like fight you.
Well, because she's from Jersey, right? Like
Or like New York or something.
New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heather had that line locked and loaded. That could not have been spur of the moment when she looked at Katie and said, I don't even know you, and now I don't want to. Like she knew that line going in. That was not a spur of the moment, because that is a killer line that people would remember.
Well, I also had a feeling because, Gina had already had that talk with Katie of like, you need to talk to Heather, tell Heather before da 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 da. And then the two groups divided at the thing. And then Tamara's like, oh, I'm so tortured by this. I've got to tell her. And I was like, you're not tortured by this. You were going after Heather
She was so
hard
happy to
last
tell
season.
her.
Yes. And I was like, you know what this has flavors of? This has flavors of La La Kent. has flavors of like that Tamra is the producer's go-to person this season of like,
Mhm.
we need you to do this for us this season or right here. And so to me, that's what it had flavors of, is like, you do this for us, because what is your storyline this year, Tamra?
Yeah.
Nothing yet.
Yeah. So you're
I
you're the producer's pawn.
I was thinking about why Gina was so nervous and protective of Heather with the Katie situation. And I realized it's because her whole thing is about being a budding realtor who has access to richer friends. She can get, that would be like if if Garcelle wanted to get into real estate, she would make sure she's friends with Kyle because of
Yep.
Mauricio. You know what I mean? That was,
Mhm.
she was protecting her business. I give her credit for that. That's
Agreed.
scheming and climbing. But the big issue though was the paparazzi thing.
Yeah.
And that's where Katie falls apart for me. Well, first of all, I do believe they called the paparazzi.
Oh yeah, no, that
I'm
picture
not-
was absolutely the one that they were jokingly like prom posing. That was absolutely staged.
Also,
See,
those type of cameras are not allowed into Disneyland
Yeah,
unless
yeah.
by like unless they are allowed
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
by
the paparazzi
Disney.
is not stalking the Disneyland
No.
grounds.
It reminded me of when Bronwyn left the show, and I think she got her girlfriend, and you'd see TMZ photos of her walking on the beach in Orange County. And I think I just was like, there isn't paparazzi lurking in Orange County naturally. You have to call them down and tell them where you'll be and when.
Mhm.
No, so I'm not denying. My theory is now Heather's very clear that she did not do it, and she swears on her children's lives. She didn't say Terry didn't call the paparazzi.
It's true.
Terry loves the press. He
Yeah.
loves being on TV even more than Heather. And so, especially since Terry was the one, I guess these pictures came about from rumors that he had cheated and there was maybe to make it up to Heather, he called the paparazzi to clear his name.
That's a good
Well,
point.
it wouldn't surprise me at all if you ever, go. I know Jordan, you do as I do. Just scroll through TMZ daily. Anytime there's any sort of medical story, they just randomly get Terry Dubrow on a sidewalk in Beverly Hills. Oh wow, we caught him again, and he always has his medical advice. So he likes to be on camera.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he also
Mhm.
then would have he would also then
Oh,
probably
God,
have TMZ's number. He's like Josh Altman. Anytime there's a celebrity divorce, whatever, Josh Altman just happens to be popping out of his Rolls Royce on the way to the office. So
I don't doubt that that's true that Heather and Terry hired paparazzi, but Katie's smoking gun, her receipts, if you will, is a screenshot of a text that just says yes. There's no the women even kept bringing up like, who is this screenshot? This friend of yours, you could have made this screenshot from. You could have made up a phone number, given it a name, then replied to it from somebody else's phone, asking this long question like,
Yeah.
"Hey, did Heather hire so and so?" And then the answer is just yes.
And if you read it, I froze the screen. And if you read it, it says, here's again where Katie's story falls apart. The text to her mystery friend named Max, who runs all the paparazzi, but he has no social media. She won't give his name, like the Wizard of Oz.
It's like Deep
And-
Throat and
Yeah.
Watergate.
And if you read the text, she texts him, tell me the truth. Did Heather Dubrow call the paparazzi? And the friend writes back, yes. So, and then a minute before, Katie is saying, I had no idea that this paparazzi photo was a storyline last season. It just, I happen to know this guy in the paparazzi. That's what I mean. She's been studying. It's very Noella. She's been studying. And she says, Heather's been digging around. How would it ever come up that you randomly text your friend and say, hey, tell me the truth? She was running an investigation on Heather.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's very Noella, and I don't think she's wrong on all points. I don't think Katie's wrong on all points. I just think it's a little psychotic, a little messy.
A little bit.
I don't think she's wrong, just psychotic. That's it.
I think she's overestimating her delivery, and she really came for the wrong one.
Yeah, don't go for Heather. Don't go for Emily or Gina.
Yeah.
They seem like easy targets.
Go for the Ginas.
Could even go for Tamara. Tamara is a villain. You could take but
Mhm.
Heather is just Heather is a different kind of house. It's like going for Bethany. It's like
Tamara's all bark and no bite.
mhm.
So she's just she's just loud and will get in your face, and she can be intimidating, but she won't do anything. She can't do
Right.
anything to you. Heather could do something. She could impact you financially. kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I
Mhm.
would like Heather and Terry to impact us financially in a positive manner.
Always.
But until we get our invite to the Century, if you could help us afford tickets to Disneyland so we could call the paparazzi on ourselves even. Maybe a
low
hot
ask.
dog or two. Yeah.
We should maybe aim higher than Disneyland entrance fees.
Yeah. Actually, can we just skip Disneyland? Can we just pay for a dinner at Craig's for all of us? Then we don't have to pay for the paparazzi. They'll just take our pictures
Mhm.
for free.
That is
Mm.
perfect. I
Yeah.
like that you're raising expectations.
Also, Craig's is cooler than Disneyland. I'm sorry. Like, we'll go to Craig's. Look, I'm all about budgeting and the coolness here. Here we go.
So on that note, if you want to help us out and live our dreams, please make sure to rate, review, subscribe, and follow. That's Pretty Corrupt Podcast on Instagram and TikTok, Pretty Corrupt One on Twitter, and we are also on YouTube. Which again, if you have any complaints about how we look on there, Terry, fix our faces for free.